Hello and welcome to the Battery Low Podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Zach.
And today we're talking all about the Destiny 2 showcase. Oh, baby. It was the world's greatest E3 presentation, but only for Destiny 2.
It was.
And so that's the entirety of this episode is just dedicated to the Destiny 2 showcase. We're not talking anything else besides that because there's so much to talk about.
There really is.
We got, it's just a preview of what we're talking about. We got Lightfall. We got the season of Plunder. We got the announcement of King's Fall. We got new social features. We got an Epic Game Store collab. There's so much, you guys. You better buckle up. You better grab a snack, and you better get your butt ready. Okay.
Get it ready.
There's a lot to go into here. So we're gonna start with Lightfall, the big takeaway from the event, I would say, and the most surprising, frankly, I think. We've got Strand, an all new subclass. We've got Neomuna, a cyberpunk techno future location.
Yeah, it looks dope.
We've got Cloud Striders, which are these new humans if they were to survive and keep evolving beyond the collapse. We've got Tormentors, these new Rolk looking guys, and we got glimpses into the story with Callus and the Witness as the big bads. Zach, let's get into it. What do we think about all this? What's going on here?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just feel so surprised at the direction that they took this. And I think partially it's they started showing Neomuna specifically, which is, part of Neptune, moon of Neptune or something like that. And it's this futuristic looking place, cyberpunky. And when they show it, you almost think they're showing the wrong game. You almost think it's this isn't Destiny. They're showing some other game or something happened. Someone made a mistake and this isn't what they're supposed to be showing us right now.
Right.
But no, sure as heck, that's the next planet we're going to. Which we never, I don't know if I've been in a building in Destiny that hasn't been broken down in some way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so for us to be going to a actually built city, is just really exciting, especially coming off of Witch Queen. And I think Savathun's Throne World and the swampy vibe of it and the whole aesthetic. I think it's cool. I think it was an interesting place, but it's not really a looker. You don't really I'm just going to go to the Throne World and sparrow around a little bit. Neomuna, it's I might just hop in and grapple around for a while just to see the sights and see where I can go, and so that'll be refreshing. I feel like we haven't really had anything in Destiny like that, and so I feel really excited about Neomuna specifically being the new location. But what was your take on the look of where we're going next?
I like you. I was very interested. So the trailer just opens up, the whole showcase just opens up with a shot of Neomuna, the new location that we're going to be going to in Lightfall. And it doesn't look like Destiny. For a second, I was like, is this the other game? We know they're working on a mobile game. We know they're working on a new IP. What is that one of this? But it's, and then you see Guardians and then they start doing stuff. And I'm like, wait, this is Destiny? The tone is also so different. The whole vibe of it is very synthwavy, which I just did not expect from the penultimate chapter in this light and dark saga, as they're calling it. I thought the tone would have been much darker, much more serious. Everybody's calling this the Infinity War of Destiny, where it's we're getting introduced to the big bad, and it's not the last expansion. It's not the final shape, which will be our end game, as everybody's saying. But so I thought it was going to be much darker, much more. I thought Hive focused, but it's Cabal again, which a little tired of the Cabal at this point.
It's fine. Yeah.
It's this new Shadow Legion. They look pretty cool. But yeah, the aesthetic is amazing. It is immaculate.
Yeah.
They were talking about it as so humanity fell, right? So everything that we know of went into ruins because of the collapse, and then the Traveler saved us, right? But Neomuna was established by a ship that escaped during the collapse and then was hidden. Kind of I thought it was very Wakanda-like, the idea, where it's it's this city that, you know, kind of is hidden from the rest of the world and is technologically so advanced and kept on advancing so much more past the rest of the world, or I guess the galaxy in this scenario. And I think that's interesting also, like, story-wise, because it's like, why didn't you help us earlier? Are they sort of, you know, just in self-preservation mode? Like, what's going on with these guys?
Right.
But yeah, I'm really excited to explore Neomuna. It gave me, like, some of the screenshots they showed of, like, Guardians walking around the city and everything. It kind of gave me, like, Halo 3 ODST vibes.
That's totally it. Yeah.
Where it's like you're exploring this sort of... Because, like, the city is, like, vibrant and full of stuff. And
it's very colorful. It's, like, kind of bright.
Very clean. Yeah. Neon LED signs. They said there's, like, an arcade. Like... But there's no people around because, like, the city's under siege, right? So it's very, like, abandoned city-y, very ODST in that way.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I think will be kind of interesting is, like, I think I initially saw that, and the way they described it, it's like, oh, like, that has potential to be, like, a big, bustling city, kind of like a single-player RPG, like a GTA or like a cyberpunk, you know, type vibe. But we've never had that in Destiny, so there's no shot that there's just going to be like crowds walking around, right? And it's like, the city's under siege, like it's just going to be full of enemies. I do wonder what like the patrol zone is going to feel like in terms of, I don't know, like I would welcome the opportunity to like move past, or I guess move beyond the like patrol system that we have. And just making it like, oh, I'm just like running through the city and all of a sudden there's like a little world event where it's like, I gotta, you know, protect this building, or I just gotta wipe out like this little stronghold or something, you know? I think it would be cool to see them lean into that. I don't think they will. We'll probably still have patrols, and for some reason there's still gonna be glimmer mining expeditions in Neomuna, you know, like probably something's gonna happen like that. But I do think it would be cool to see them kind of branch out of that. I also think for me, the first image we saw of Lightfall when they first previewed it, it looked kind of dark. It looked kind of pyramid-y. And so the aesthetic that they came out with was totally not something I was expecting. Like I was expecting there to be like a, I don't know, like a Witness throne world or something, you know? Not exactly. I know Throne World's a Hive thing, but just kind of like this like big Witness pyramid, almost like a dreadnought.
Expanding on like the pyramid aesthetic. Yeah, like a pyramid dreadnought. That's probably final shape, right?
You would think. But that's what I was expecting with Lightfall, just because of the aesthetic that they had already showed us. And then when they came out and it's like basically the font they used for the new Buzz Lightyear movie, it's kind of like, what is this? This is crazy. And so it was just exciting to see that. I felt really shocked. I think that would have been the last on my like predictions list, was to be like, we're going to a futuristic city that is in perfect shape. Like that that wouldn't even have been a thought of mine, you know?
It was so energizing and so refreshing to be surprised by Destiny again. Like in such a positive way. And who is on this new location but the Cloud Striders, a brand new, seemingly ally faction of these like Guardian equivalents. They're like supercharged, like enhanced humans, but they chose to be this way. And whatever they've done, whatever sort of like, it's like cybernetic enhancements they've done, shortens their lifespan. But they've chosen to do this to protect their people. As opposed to the Guardians, who were chosen and are given immortality. These guys shorten their lifespan, and they choose to do it. So what do we think of these guys? These guys are a big departure from the normal Destiny aesthetic.
It's going to be so interesting. I think at the beginning of Destiny 2, you know, there's a lot of interaction with Hawthorne and the farm and the people of the last city. And then we just kind of dropped it. You know, we just kind of went with our Guardian things, and then we didn't really interact with people like Hawthorne anymore. Seemingly until now, this kind of feels like a Hawthorne, people of the city equivalent to me. I wonder if they have the same bias of like the Guardians and the Light and the Traveler that we were led to believe Hawthorne had. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's just so many questions there. Like, do they see? Okay, here's what I'm thinking. It's like that scene in maybe Infinity War, maybe Endgame, in the MCU where Captain Marvel comes down and she's all like, "Oh, tell me where he is. I'm gonna go kill Thanos." And Don Cheadle's like, "Calm down. Like, we're all superheroes around here." You know, that kind of thing. Like, I wonder if our Guardians are gonna kind of go in like Captain Marvel and kind of be this big boastful, like, we have the light, like, we're Guardians, we're gonna get in there, and they're like, calm down, like, we all do that fighting thing around, like, you know, get off your high horse a little bit. And that's gonna kind of be, I don't know, the progression of breaking down the relationship between the Guardians and the light being this like incredible bond that is soon to be maybe diminished.
Yeah, that could be really interesting. Along with new allies, seemingly, it seems like they're going to be allies. We don't know, which is exciting. A lot of stuff we don't know.
It's true. It's true.
We will be facing off with Tormentors using Strand. So let's get into both of these things.
Yeah.
Tormentors, they're these huge, like, they look like fat Rolks or like wide Rolks.
They almost look like the Caretaker, you know, like a mini Caretaker, because it looks like they're kind of like a Cabal with a coffin on their back type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They're these like hulking boss units that will just like kind of be scattered around the levels, kind of like Hive Guardians, people are saying. Like, that's the equivalent.
Oh, yeah.
And they have the same like shoulder mechanic as Rolk, it looks like, where you can kind of shoot the shoulders and it like stuns them. Like, it's got that same effect, at least, around the shoulders, like that swirling light thing. And I'm wondering, does this mean we're finally getting like a darkness race with Final Shape? Like, we've gotten Rolk and we gotten the Caretaker, and now there is a new type of enemy. It's just the Tormentors. There's not like a whole faction of them. But does that mean we could get them in the Final Shape?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's exciting.
I don't know. That would be really interesting. And I just got my people mixed up. I think the Caretaker minis are actually just Cabal with like darkness stuff on their backs. Yes, the Tormentors are like a brand new thing that we haven't seen before, and that's going to be really interesting. That kind of looks like Rolk. Looks like it has like the shoulder things. I mean, they look crazy. Which I love it, because we had the same enemy races for so long, and then we had the Scorn, which was like, hear me out, what if we did Fallen but like annoying, you know? And that is just kind of where it landed. And I mean, at first it was like, oh, this is kind of innovative, like there are some things here, but everything that we've seen of like Rolk and the Caretaker and just like everything in the Vow raid that is darkness themed has just been really, it's a really cool aesthetic. The fights are really cool. And so I'm excited for them to continue building on that. And yeah, hopefully it will be kind of like a Hive Guardian type thing. Where they're, you know, these boss adjacent kind of big baddie type guys. But
I love the Hive Guardians. I think any new enemy type that forces you to like shake up your gameplay and think a little more, and, you know, move around a little differently, that is not like a champion. Like, people have been saying like a lock and key type system where it's just like, well, I've just got to have the right thing on and then I can get this champion. But like with Hive Guardians and with what it looks like with Tormentors, it's like, no, these are going to change the way you play. You can come at them in a bunch of different ways, but they're not your, you know, typical yellow bar like bullet sponge. Like, these are gonna vary up the gameplay in like new ways, which is really exciting. And speaking of gameplay, do you have anything else to say on Tormentors?
I did. So I was just gonna put, this may be a conversation for another podcast, but do you think this is sort of the beginning of the end of Champions? I was just thinking that.
I hope so.
Do you think we're gonna get to a point where like every race is gonna have their sort of Hive Guardian equivalent, or maybe just, I don't know, we'll have strikes and grandmasters and stuff like that, that don't use champions. They'll be using like the Hive Guardians and the Tormentors and stuff like that. That's just a thought that I had. I think that would be a cool way to change up the gameplay and kind of moving away from like champion mods kind of dictating everything in a season. But
I completely agree. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And I think it would be interesting to take on the new challenging content with Strand. What the heck?
Strand.
So this is the new green darkness subclass that we're going to be getting with Lightfall, and it's not poison. It's not like decay. It's not hive magic. Everybody thought it was going to be. There was some leaks that showed a green subclass, and everyone was like, "Oh, here we go, poison," because we've gotten stuff like Osteostriga and what's the other one? Thorn. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing to do with that at all.
Nothing.
It's like you pull at the like psychic strands of the universe and weave them into like darkness weapons. It's so weird and anime, and I love it.
I know.
And the most important part is Destiny 2 is getting a grappling hook with Strand, folks. We got a grappling hook.
So cool.
And I'm so excited. And because it's like grabbing at the fabric of a psychic dimension or whatever, you can just grapple in thin air to any point. You don't have to like Spider-Man it where you have to grapple onto the side of a building or a post. You can just shoot your grapple out at anywhere and it'll attach to like a point in the sky, and then you can just swing on it.
I mean, admittedly, that's just gonna like break the game, right? Like, people in the EDZ, which came out 5 years ago, right? I mean, they're going to get out of bounds so quickly and so easily. Yeah. Like, the game is not ready for what people are going to do with Strand.
You think they've been, like, going around baby-proofing, like, all of the previous maps by just, like, okay, Todd, you're the invisible walls guy. You got to go ham on the EDZ and Nessus. And, like, oh, man.
I mean, in reality, they'll probably just, like, make sure that the turn-back things are just maybe go beyond what they were before, you know? So it's like if someone gets too far, they'll just die. But I mean, there's so many ways that we just get out of the map anyway. Like specifically, the like joining allies glitch that people do for Riven in The Last Wish, and even for the Black Armory raid, the way that people would two-man that boss is by doing like a joining allies glitch. And so that's what I'm thinking is like, how are we gonna kind of break the game in that way for us to be able to like cheese things or do things that like we just weren't meant to do.
But just what a perfect system of movement to introduce alongside this new location, right? New
absolutely,
like towering cyber city that seems like more vertically driven, more vertically vertical persuasion than any of the other locations that we've had. And so being able to like grapple around this like cyber city with your friends fighting the big bad, like, oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
It's gonna be so much fun. It is. I mean, I did just kind of go into how it's gonna break the game, but it is gonna be so much fun. Like there are so many ways where, and I think even now what we have with Arc 3.0, which we'll get to, but the speed boost we get from being amplified, like that is changing the game. You know, it's like I just love zipping around like a little fast boy, and now it's like I'll literally be able to just like grapple my way through missions and strikes and raids, and it's just gonna open up a whole new way just to engage with content. And I think that is what makes this whole introducing of subclasses and redoing subclasses so interesting, is I feel like I'm almost playing a new game. You know, like if I were to pick up the Destiny 2 that launched in 2017, I mean, I played it, I know what to expect, but I think I would actually be shocked. Like, I think if I had the opportunity to go back and play like base Destiny 2, I'd be like, what am I even playing? Like, who thought this was a good idea? Especially with what we have now. You know what I mean? And so that just feels fun, and the game will continue to get more and more interesting. And I am really surprised we didn't get a poison subclass though. Do you think we'll still get one?
I don't know. At this point, my theory now is that we'll get like a yellow subclass or just like a black subclass as the third darkness subclass. And I think it'll be like fully like the darkness pyramid stuff, like the orange stuff that Rolk uses, and that like that moving sort of kinetic stuff that you see in the armor from Vow. I can see them using that since like there's a system for that already.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Everybody thought that the 3.0 stuff would also include like a Hive Guardian stuff. Like Hive Guardians do like a unique blade barrage that everybody thought that hunters would get. But we didn't, so I don't know. They do sometimes just keep these elements for, or these like special attacks for enemies. But that's my predominant guess now. I feel like it'd be weird to have 2 green darkness subclasses.
Yeah, no. In terms of like, differentiating them in that way, I agree. But it just seems like the most obvious choice, which is why I think people have been guessing it, right? It's like we already have this. We already know the interaction it has on Guardians, on enemies. Like we can just continue to build into that. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't think anybody expected us to get Strand. No. You know?
Yeah, now it's a Strand type game.
Yeah. And
Kojima would love it.
It's true. It's true. And yeah, I just am so curious to see what our last, because that's my prediction, is that we'll get 3 of each, right? So we'll get 3 darkness, and then kinetic weapons will no longer be a thing. Every weapon will have an element, and that's just the way that we'll interact with the game now, right?
They did in the post live stream Q&A. They did confirm that strand weapons and like strand damage is a thing. So I'm really curious to see what that'll do.
Well, I also think that is just, it almost future-proofs them in creating new weapons too, because at this point now we have a glaive of every element except for stasis, and then we'll need one for strand, and then we'll need one for the next subclass that we get. And so it just like kind of future-proofs that, where it's like, okay, if we're really going to get eventually, you know, you would think that at the end of all this we'll have every weapon, every archetype, and every element, and then that way people can just use whatever they want whenever they want. Right. But that feels at this point, if you're thinking 6 elements, that just feels so far off. They could be making that for years before they hit that for every weapon, every archetype, in every element. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends though, because we don't have stasis shields, right? So stasis weapons are special because they freeze. So are we going to get strand shielded enemies, or are what's the like special effect that strand's going to have? That's going to make you want to have strand weapons, because I can't imagine having 6 shield types, you know?
That's a really good point. Yeah, we don't have stasis shields. Huh. Yeah,
I've confounded Zach, ladies and gentlemen.
It's true. Well, I was trying to think. I was like, do we? For some reason, I felt like there was like a fallen cat. I don't know. I felt like there was a score on something or other. But I think you're right. I think we don't have any stasis shields. But even if they introduced that, you know, but you just imagine there would be some strike that would just be cursed, and it would have like so many shields for match game or something like that, right?
Oh my gosh,
But anyway, this is, you know, us just kind of pondering now. The strand subclass itself, with the grappling hook, the new weapon damage, the new supers look amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. As a hunter main,
the hunter kind of like the
rope dart,
the rope dart. I forget what the warlock one is, but
you like
those
two, like you like summon little. The description on Bungie.net. Goeth thusly. It sounds like you could summon stuff. It says, so I'll just read through the official descriptions for each strand subclass. So the warlocks are called the Architect. Architects effortlessly manipulate the weave using only their mind. From the backline, these telekinetic sorcerers can even twist strand into sentient creatures to do their bidding. So are these like little summons? Like what?
Yeah, so
it's really hard to understand.
Yeah, I remember that now. They almost think like a blade barrage. They throw like a strand blade barrage that kind of splits into other strands, and so they just kind of throw this barrage of like strand missiles. It kind of looks like, which I'm all about, like burst supers like that. I think, yeah, I'm all about it. So I'm very excited for that. But all of the strand supers look really good. And like they would be a lot of fun to play. So
And then we got hunters, and they have the coolest name too that matches the city aesthetic. They're the thread runners.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, come on.
Masters of movement, speed, and grace, the city is a thread runner's playground as they grasp threads and weave new ones to dart through the air, finding the fastest way between 2 points. Ooh! Very excited.
That is good.
They have their... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, they also mentioned that they were only going to give hunters the grapple at the beginning of this, which makes sense with the name and kind of the whole hunter deal. But I'm so happy they didn't. Every class being able to do that is going to be awesome.
Could you imagine the outrage if the hunters got the grappling hook and nobody else did?
If that happened, I would be a hunter main.
Yeah. You still might be. I mean, thread running? Come on.
It's true. Come on.
And the super is like you form this like rope dart thing, and then you can like throw it and it like disintegrates enemies.
It looks very good, yeah.
Cool. And you're like spinning it around. Titans, I mean, you know what to expect. They have the like Titan fantasy down pat by now.
Yeah.
They're called Tyrants. Untamed and wild, tyrants tear at strand to manifest claws they use to sever their targets from the weave. Leaping into harm's way with wild abandon, the line no one crosses is drawn by a tyrant. And they've got like claws that they like do like a whirlwind attack with, which almost looks like a hunter thing, but it is again very melee focused, which is right up the Titans' alley.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Strand's looking really good, very surprising, and it's gonna be hard. I feel like how it is now with Arc, it's gonna be hard to switch off of it because I'm gonna be wanting to use the grapple hook all the time.
Yeah. Well, and I just wonder, I mean, because when Stasis came out and it was the whole like subclass revamp, that was like game changing, you know. And then as they're doing the light subclass 3.0 changes, I think those are interesting enough that it does make the gameplay feel different, and there are new things that are coming. But for the most part, it's like, okay, we kind of understand what the kits are going to look like. With Strand, it's like we have no idea, right? So this is the first time in a long time where it's like, okay, we are going to be really surprised with, you know, what are the aspects going to do? What are the fragments going to mean? How are we going to create this into a build that's going to feel meaningful in what are the grenades gonna do, you know? Like, this is, I think with Stasis too, it was like, okay, I can understand ice, you know. I've seen ice, I know ice, you know, like I could kind of see where this is going. With Strand, it's like they really could do whatever they want with it, and so it is just really gonna be interesting to see like what the melees and grenades and what sort of our verbs will be, you know, how Solar has like Scorch and Heal and Restoration and stuff like that. It'll just be really interesting.
Yeah, the only glimpse we've seen of like abilities is that there was this like Hunter Slam that they did that was like a Shatter Dive, and then the enemies got like strung up on these like green threads, and they like their arms and legs got all pulled, and they were like suspended in midair, and it was like, what the heck? So that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff with Lightfall. Anything else on Lightfall that we need to cover?
No, I mean, I will just lastly say just about the general story. I like where it's going. I mean, the story beats have been so good recently, and the legendary campaign being back for Lightfall, that was such a hit with Witch Queen. Even if it was kind of short-lived, I think after you finished the campaign, you were kind of like, cool, okay, now I'm just back to Destiny. So I would like to see more incentive to go in and replay missions and, you know, have some incentive there. But it was interesting to finally see Callus as like a Cabal and not see him as a robot, and to like see what that's all about. And I would like to kind of mix up fighting just the Cabal kind of everywhere. But
well, they did confirm that the Vex are going to be on Neomuna. Okay. So it's not just going to be the Cabal. There's a Vex invasion, and we've got the Tormentors. So I feel like there'll be some good variety there. But yeah, we've fought the Cabal a lot.
Yeah, and so
that's Destiny's history and recently.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm hoping for. It's just a little more variety. But I think I trust the team enough at this point. And like I have a say in it, right? Like I could be like, hey, let's not fight the Cabal anymore. And they would listen. But I think, that the story is interesting enough with the Cabal, especially with us kind of having Keitel on our side and stuff like that. I just find it to be a really interesting saga. So really interested to see where they go with that.
One last thing on Lightfall is that on the Bungie page, at the top, there's a picture of Osiris. So my prediction was true in that they ignored Osiris in the showcase. But on the website, there's a picture of Osiris. So we know he'll be involved. We know the Vex will be involved, which makes a lot of sense. I'm hoping we get, like, a face to the Vex or, like, a named character to the Vex. Because we have, like, the big bads of each main faction and the big, heroes of each faction with, like, Mithrax and all that. And so I think it'd be fun to have, like, someone, like a named entity in the Vex besides like Gate Lords and the Vex mind of whatever. Like it's just like sort of this, hive mind of robots that are just bad. Like it'd be interesting to get a little more. Every class has been getting, or type of enemy has been getting, like nuance and characters and stuff like that. I'd love for the Vex to get that treatment because I think they could be really interesting and they're fun to fight. But they're just kind of this one big thing.
I wonder if we'll have a Vex season next, because I mean that was Osiris's big thing, was like interacting with the Vex and traveling through time, and so I wonder if next season we will, or he'll wake up. Not that we'll resurrect him, but because I think right now he's just kind of comatose, isn't he? But
he's sleepy.
He's just knocked out. But next season, I think that will probably be kind of an Osiris focused season, I would imagine. But
watch out, folks. Official prediction coming in from Zach. Vex season for season 19.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And I've never been wrong. So
okay. That's Lightfall, folks. Really excited about that. The last thing is, like, if you pre-order it now, you get an exotic, and the exotic looks cool.
I've used it. It's fine.
It's using Cloud Strider technology, which is interesting. So we'll be getting more Cloud Strider weapons. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, it's like advanced Siva. They described it as. Like, what if Siva, like,
I did not know,
put under control? Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of play around with it a little bit. It's fun. It's like it's an auto rifle, and the more damage you do to something, your auto rifle will just like start launching rockets at it, and then the more sustained damage you do on something, you start loading these like grenades in there, and then you switch a firing mode, and then you like launch these pretty powerful grenades. It's fun. It's kind of gimmicky, but if they build on that, I think it could be really fun. So
yeah. Just a taste of Cloud Strider tech. So a lot of new, a lot of unknown, a lot of potential with Lightfall. But that was just one half of the showcase. The other half, well, most of the other half, was Season of Plunder news, which is the current season that launched the same day as the showcase. And with Season of Plunder, we got Arc 3.0. We got like 3 new activities to do, 3 or 4. There are new weapons. They did some cool changes to the crafting, and the story is it's pirates, guys. We're doing pirates in Destiny 2. Zach, what are your first impressions of Season of Plunder?
I think it's fun. I think it's a nice change in pace. The last 2 seasons were pretty depressing.
It's true.
And just like pretty intense, which I think is what people have wanted, and why the writing has been so good, is that we've kind of moved away from like the silly Cade 6 banter of Destiny. But I think the Drifter kind of rides that line where it's like he is never really at the forefront of much that we do. But he's always doing something, right? And so to finally be able to see him more and get more of his voice lines in there, he's just a fun character and kind of takes some of the seriousness out of stuff at times. And so, yeah, it's fun. I do think the activities are fun. Catch Crash, I've been able to play quite a bit, and that's pretty fun. And then the cycle of playing that and then going to expeditions, and that's how you get loot. I think is a much better seasonal loop than what we had last season with containments in sever missions. And so it just feels like it's a lot more balanced. If every season sort of had this sort of like 2 activity type thing, as simple as they are just really fun. And so I'm vibing on it.
Well, there's the 2 activities, and then there's each week there'll be a new pirate hideout, which is like
a glorified
the
lost sector. Yeah.
A glorified lost sector, with some new lore and then like a relic that you get, which is pretty cool. And then have you gotten this yet? There's like pirate like treasure maps with like riddles in them.
You know what? I've seen those, and I haven't gotten one yet. I don't think I haven't actually done it, but I know they're a thing.
I just got one today, and I got it from upgrading the like star map, the new like seasonal vendor thing at the helm, and it's like a legit like treasure map pirate puzzle thing, like Sea of Thieves level, where it's like gives you clues and you just have to like use the clues to go find stuff. But so it'll say like a riddle or like a poem, and then in yellow are like words that like string together to do something. So it'll be like a poem talking about the moon, or like a riddle talking about the moon and like where they landed and that they had a revelation and that they're searching for a chest. But then in yellow will be like moon revelation chest, and there's a lost sector on the moon that's called K1 Revelation. So you put that together and go like, I should go loot the chest at the end of this lost sector. So there's like pirate mysteries that give you treasure, and I just thought that was really exciting.
Yeah, that is
much
cool.
more exciting than grinding the same public event over and over again like last season.
Yeah. Well, and I just think it's hard because they'll make a seasonal activity and some of them hit and some of them just don't, you know. Containment didn't really hit, but at least off first glance, Catch Crash is a lot of fun. And so
Catch Crash is really fun.
Yeah, can see myself engaging with that a lot more than Containment.
Especially because we've got Arc 3.0 now.
We sure do, which is busted.
Okay.
No, it's good.
It's good. There are some bugs with it right now for Titans and Warlocks resistance-wise, where you're not getting the resistance buff that you should be getting. But, like, at least I've played it mostly on a Hunter with, like, I'd say I've been playing 80% on my Hunter, 15% on my Titan, and 5% on my Warlock. I have loved it. The new builds that I've been able to make, the speediness, the ability regen, the sort of combat flow just feels really good. Like, it feels like they've really locked in the sort of arc fantasy, and it seems like they've really learned from the other 3.0 subclasses, where, like, the specific flow that you get, at least on an Arc Hunter, where it's like dodge, and then you get like a supercharged melee, and then you melee, and it jolts everybody, and then you get your dodge back, and then you can do Gambler's Dodge, which gives you your melee back, and then you can do this combination blow, which gives you your melee back, and then so you're just like you're dodging and meleeing and getting faster, and then getting resistance, and then getting a speed boost. And then if you have Liar's Handshake, you're getting Cross Counter, which is like a super powerful melee. Mm-hmm. And then you can have a fragment that makes your weapons reload stupid fast on every melee kill. So it just... There's like such a synergy there, and it's such a different way of playing the game. Such a fast way of playing the game that I never want to switch off of it now, because the new Hunter Super is so good and so satisfying to use. But that's just me. You have been maining it on Warlock. What do you think?
Almost exclusively.
A few days in on what do you think of Arc 3.0?
Yeah, I'm excited to try the rest of them. I will say that the taste in my mouth right now is a little less sweet than yours, because of the resilience changes. So what's happening right now, which will get fixed, but if you're running an Arc subclass on a Titan or a Warlock, your resilience is 0, regardless of what you're running, regardless of what your stats are. And so I just felt really squishy. And so it was like, man, I'm having a really hard time staying alive in Arc 3.0. But the offensive side of things is amazing. So once I'm actually able to like handle damage, I feel like it's going to be a lot better. But even from the Warlocks, right now their kit just kind of seems like ability regen just kind of all around being the thing, and having like a supercharged Arc Soul, which honestly kills things quicker than I can. And so it really is fun to kind of have that cycle of always having like a little Arc buddy, and then being able to use Arc weapons that I haven't used recently, just because the new subclasses lean so hard into using the element that coincides with the subclass. And so things like Trinity Ghoul or the submachine gun that we use. Why am I blanking on that? Risk Runner. Yeah. Being able to use those exotics is just so much fun. And they're good, they're powerful, and so just I as of now, as much as my abilities do come back, I am really having fun just kind of with like a gun build with all of these really good arc weapons that I just have been leaving in my vault for a while. So really excited to kind of get back into that. Do want to try, actually just before this I was looking at making a hunter build. Just felt inspired by the fun that Matt was having, and so I'm excited to get in with all the characters. I think we're getting to a point now where each character kind of has their kit, you know, where it's like, okay, Solar Titans are really it, and like Void Warlocks are like really it, you know, and so I'm excited to kind of continue in that, and just continuing to expand on builds and build crafting and finding fun ways to engage with the content that I like. So
Yes.
I also I've not gotten too many of the new weapons, but there's a flintlock looking sidearm and there's like a blunderbuss looking shotgun, and I just love that.
Yeah.
Like we'll get into this later, but I just love that like Destiny can just do pirates, and then a few months down they're just gonna do like cyber stuff, and it's like I love that we're kind of expanding and
yeah.
After a season, by the way, that was like, wow, let's really dig into these characters' past trauma and like face their demons and stuff. And now it's like we're going on a pirate adventure.
I know.
So,
I know.
I really feel like this is the last sort of super fun, light in tone season that we're gonna get, because it's about to get like pretty serious because the main villain is coming.
Yeah.
So they're like, let's throw these guys a bone and have like a fun pirate adventure before we start, coming down to the wire with the story.
This is like Marvel releasing Ant-Man like in between Infinity War and Endgame, or like whenever it came out, you know, it's like, look at this really serious thing that happened, and then we have Ant-Man, and then now we're back to Endgame, you know, and it's like this is our Ant-Man experience, but
it's our palate cleanser.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Anything else on Season of Plunder so far? We're just getting into it. We're just a few days in, and we're just kind of diving in. My first impressions are initially very positive. I'm loving Arc. I'm loving the new activities, and the theme of pirates is very fun.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, is squishy as I felt, I think Arc will be really fun. I think this season will overall be a fun story beat. I think it'll be fun activities. I am really looking forward to it. So overall, positive.
Yeah, I will say that the story, like, it kicked off super fun. Like, there was a fun cutscene in like a fallen bar, and then like we've got the spider back and everything.
Yeah.
But like, there's not really a sever or expunge equivalent. Like, there's not like story missions, at least as far as we've seen. It just seems like there's going to be dialogue in the various activities that we're going to be doing that'll kind of deliver the story. Which I don't love as much as like a proper story mission.
Yeah,
but for something as light as what we're doing, like,
sure,
I don't think I super need it, you know?
Yeah. I just wonder if like the hideouts will kind of be that eventually, because that's kind of what Severs were, is we're kind of just working through this like, you know, mini dungeon with a bunch of things that we have to do, and then we get to a big boss at the end, and that's what we fight. So it's kind of the same thing, but yeah, I think this season doesn't feel as story intensive yet. It definitely could be. And so
we don't know.
Yeah, just kind of seeing that, but no, overall, Season of Plunder, I think should be a fun one.
I agree. Okay, next on the list here of things that were discussed in the Destiny showcase. Everybody thought it. I also thought it. King's Fall is the returning reprised Destiny 1 raid. I never did this raid, and it comes out as the day of recording this tomorrow. So I'll be excited to be watching that world's first race and get my actually first look at this raid. I don't really know it at all. But Zach, you tell me, you're very experienced with this raid. How do you feel about it coming back?
I have done this raid 30 some odd times. maybe close to 40. It's probably I was actually just trying to look. It's probably, in terms of how many times I've done it to completions, probably the lowest percentage, just because I typically did like the hard mode raids in Destiny 1, which you had to be like really kitted for, and you had to find a team and blah blah blah. But it was fun. It's long. I would expect, like, for new groups, for it to be kind of like as intensive as something like Last Wish, where there's just like a lot of encounters, there's a lot of things to do. I don't think the world's first race will go that long by any means, just because it is a raid that we've had before. I'm sure they're tuning some things and tweaking some things, just because we are way more powerful than we were back in the Taken King. And so, I'm hoping the world's first will go for a few hours. And then the challenge modes, I imagine they will have messed with a little bit. But we also had challenge modes in the Kingsfall raid in Destiny 1, so I don't know if they just ported those over as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be fun to get back into it. I love the sort of end game content they're providing, where it's like every other season we get a raid, and then the off seasons we get a dungeon. I think that's just a phenomenal system, where it's like, once a year we get a brand new raid, once a year we get a reprised raid, and then twice a year we get dungeons. I just think is such a good system for them to really lean into, that I'm really happy about. So excited to have raid content like that, because that's what I like to do the best. I like doing raids. I like doing dungeons. I like the teamwork about it. I like the mechanics. I like the loot. It just feels like the most engaging and rewarding piece of play that Destiny has to offer. And so overall excited about it to come back. Kingsfall also just had great armor, had great weapons. The Hive vibe was really interesting. It doesn't really connect with this season at all. So
yeah,
that's the only thing where it's like, I wonder. I mean, but I also don't think Vault of Glass really did. I think it'll just come back in sort of like the Legends tab of the menu, where it's like, this isn't really kind of coinciding with the story at all. This is
because it's on the Dreadnought. Yeah,
it is on the Dreadnought, which we don't have in Destiny 2, and so
right.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting. So, but definitely excited to jump back in there and re-engage with that. We do know that there is an exotic with a catalyst. It's a returning exotic. I won't spoil that, but excited to see. I do know what it is. Excited for that to come back, and excited to see how they change that for the Destiny 2 gameplay.
Nice. So Kingsfall was the big reprise raid announcement that everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it was between that and Wrath of the Machine, right?
Or
basically,
or Crota's End. Those are the were the last three that we didn't have. But it just seemed thematically with Witch Queen that Kingsfall was going to be it. So,
right. I'd love it if we got the Dreadnought back. By the way, like if this kind of ushered in the sort of return of that space, but who knows? Along with Kingsfall, we got a lot of announcements of social and quality of life features, including in-game LFG, which is looking for group, which is something that people have wanted for a long time, and is a great change. In-game loadouts, which is fantastic, especially with Strand coming up. Having the ability to like save a bunch of different builds and just switch seamlessly in-game while you're like in an activity, is going to be great. Yeah. And having the sort of, like, they showed a preview of the screen. It was like a work in progress, so I don't know if it'll look exactly like it did, but having it sort of have the treatment that the cosmetics got, where it's like its own dedicated, like, mod building screen with, like, a better UI and stuff. That's just really exciting. It kind of will streamline it, I feel like. And then commendations, which are, like, little ratings that you can give to people through at least through the LFG system, the in-game LFG system. I don't know if it'll be after like everything or just the LFG stuff, but it'll let people know that like, hey, this Guardian's really friendly and help me, get through this raid and whatever. So that's interesting. That's kind of MMO of them to do. People have been requesting more MMO features. Guardian ranks are coming, which are seems to be like geared to new lights, like new players, and as a system that like steers people through the game and like every aspect of the game, and also appears to like reward players for Sherpaing people through stuff. But it's kind of just like it's trying to solve the problem of new people getting into the game right now and being like, I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's a path that you can follow to sort of get familiar with like everything the game has to offer, which is good. I really didn't think they'd do a lot of improvements to the new light system until like after Lightfall or Final Shape, so it's good that we're seeing stuff now. Do you have any thoughts on these features or anything about these?
Thousands. I have all of the thoughts.
Wow.
So these, I mean, not actually. I think they're all good. My tweet version is, this is all good. These are all qualities, not live today. They're all coming with Lightfall. In-game LFG, hopefully it will be good. I think that's going to be a tough one to break, especially for the PC community that already uses like the Destiny 2 LFG Discord, because it's like you can find a team, you can voice chat in there, and so I do think this will be a good feature for people who don't use that or people on console. But that begs the question of like, if I'm looking for a raid and this is going out to all Destiny players, how do we chat? Is the in-game chat going to get better? So I think there's, is this an overall positive feature for most things in the game? Absolutely, I think it is. Is this going to solve all of the problems that I think finding games has in Destiny 2? No, I don't. So, interested to see how it's going to be implemented. Interested to see how it actually plays out. But I think it's a positive change. In-game loadouts. Shout out to Destiny Item Manager that already does this. However, you have to be in orbit or the tower in order to apply it. And so that's what stinks is like, if I'm mid-raid, it's like, okay, this first encounter, I want to run Void. But the next encounter, I want to run Solar. And so I've kind of gotten in the habit of like using like different armor, like entire armor sets for each kind of build that I have. That way I can just kind of in-game put them on as I need to and kind of know what I'm doing. But to be able to actually have that in game and be like, okay, yep, this is, for this I need well, so I'm going to run my Solar class and just be able to apply it in game with all of my fashion, all of my loadouts, everything. I think it's just going to be so phenomenal for everybody to have in experience.
Do you think it'll have like the depth that Dim has as well, where like you can search for like, hey, I want a build that's going to give me 100 resilience.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it'll be able to sort through your armor and like find you, like recommend a build, or do you think it won't be that sophisticated? It'll just be like, you can just save what you have on.
I think it'll let you save what you have on. And so okay. I think I'll probably continue to use third-party apps to like create a build, but I'll probably use the in-game stuff to apply it, if that makes sense. And so,
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, what they did this season, so for this season, they had like a little chest that kind of caught people up, and it gave you some highlight armor. It gave you an arc exotic armor piece to grab to kind of get you in the arc 3.0 mix. And those already had mods on them that kind of were putting a build in there, so I wouldn't be surprised to see... I don't know, maybe they will have like a recommended build in there where it's like, people can go in and say like, oh, I want an arc build, but as a warlock, I don't really know what to do. Maybe they could have like a recommended one, or maybe
like some presets.
Maybe eventually this will expand into sort of like a Forza tuning situation where it's like you can see somebody else's build and then people can use it and they can rate it and they can like it, and you can see like, okay, these are the most popular arc builds in the community, and
that would be incredible.
They're used for ad clearing, or this is for boss melting, or whatever it is. And so I think ultimately that would be really cool and kind of allow people to connect in this feature even more. But for now, just being able to apply my build, I think is a huge step forward. So that I'm very excited about.
Yeah. At least they're introducing the system, so like it could definitely be added onto, which is exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And then commendations in Guardian ranks. For commendations, it is my understanding that Final Fantasy XIV, which is a MMO, they have a system like this that works pretty well. And so I'm excited to see that. You know, if someone's rated pretty high, or if there's like a LFG post and you see someone that's rated pretty high, you can feel pretty comfortable about joining them and knowing that they're like not gonna kick me. You know,
Yeah.
if I don't have something. And then for the Guardian ranks, it just kind of. I mean, we already have the Triumph system, which is very hard to navigate, granted. But I think having the Guardian ranks and allowing players to kind of have, you know, a checklist of things to check out and play, will kind of decomplicate the game a little bit. But even as I was learning about this during the showcase and then thinking about it since then, Datto, who is a popular Destiny 2 YouTuber, he puts out a video every season that just says how Season of Plunder works, or like how Season of the Risen works. And it's like Destiny inherently is just a complicated game. Complicated enough where it's like I understand a season best after I watch a YouTuber post a video on how it works. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
like, but if they were to simplify it at all, I think that would hurt sort of the depth that it has. And so, all that to say, I just think it'll be kind of a balance. I mean, it's hard to get new players into any game that has had the lifespan that Destiny 2 has had, just because it's a complicated game. There's a lot of layers to it, and things are constantly changing. And so you could see a YouTube video from 2 years ago of like what you need to know about Destiny 2, and odds are everything in that video is outdated, you know? And so it's just constantly changing and things are constantly moving. So I don't think the complexity of the game will ever go down. And because of that, I think even if you implement something like this, it's just a difficult game to get into inherently without some sort of Sherpa. So hopefully this will act as a Sherpa for new players enough where they can stick, because I think that's the thing that they're looking for, is just having new players come in, understand the systems, understand the game, and like continue engaging with it. And I imagine their new player retention is actually pretty low because they don't have something like this. So they're probably trying to increase that a little bit. Not that I think Destiny players are leaving in any way, but
they did say they got over 5 million new players over the last year. That doesn't necessarily mean they're all still playing, but at least 5 million new people tried out Witch Queen, which is cool.
Yeah, which is really cool. So, well, I think they announced even before Witch Queen that Witch Queen had 1 million pre-orders, which is crazy.
That's true.
So that's not even counting the amount of people who like have bought Witch Queen since. And so,
right.
Yeah,
and Lightfall's probably gonna beat it, I bet.
I imagine it will. Yeah.
Because it's already like on Steam. Like I remember reading somewhere that like on Steam it's one of the best sellers right now. So a few more announcements here. There was an Epic Game Store collab.
Yeah.
So this kind of leaked and it's kind of been teased for a while, but apparently. What's his name? The guy that makes Fortnite freaking loves Destiny.
Donald Mustard.
Donald Mustard.
That's not a real name, right?
I know. He called Destiny 2 one of the greatest games of all time. And like a year plus ago said he like has been playing it forever and loves it, and kind of teased that something might happen. So now here we are. Destiny 2 is on the Epic Game Store, and not just that, there's a Fortnite collab, there's a Fall Guys collab, and if you get the game on the Epic Game Store right now, you can get the 30th anniversary pack in Destiny for free, which is just, that's $30 worth of content right there. Boom, right there, free. And in Fortnite, well, the Fortnite collab goes two ways, which is wild. So there's Zavala, the Exo Stranger, and Ikora skins in Fortnite, along with like ghosts and sparrows and like weapons. But then in Destiny, they put original Fortnite character armor for the three classes as this season's Eververse armor, which is just insane. I never thought
it is crazy
that we would see Fortnite armor. Like the closest to a collab we ever got was like the little hints at like Halo that were in some of the 30th anniversary armor. But these are straight up officially Fortnite skins in Destiny. And you know what? they look awesome. Okay, I am not
They do look
going to
great.
apologize to anybody for getting the Hunter set because have you seen it? Come on.
Yeah.
What do we? You got any thoughts on the Fortnite collab?
I mean, honestly, like, what the heck? Like, out of nowhere, right? And it's just funny that, like, well, so, I mean, this has probably been in the works for a long time, probably even before they were acquired by Sony. But Sony, I think, has an investment in the Epic Game Store. That they're in cahoots some way. And so that's why, there are some games, like, I think Kena Bridge of Spirits launched on the Epic Game Store and the PS5 when it launched, and those are the only two places. And so there's stuff like that that's happening, and so maybe it was like a PlayStation interaction that they had, but it's just so odd that it's happening now. Two seasons after Witch Queen, 2 seasons before Lightfall. It just seems like odd timing is the thing. And so, I mean, I'm excited for it. I would love to play as I still enjoy playing Fortnite. I would love to play as the Destiny characters in Fortnite. I'm obviously deep into Fall Guys right now, and so being able to run around as a little warlock in there would be a lot of fun. And I think, I mean, in terms of like the PC community, I don't think anybody is like, oh, cool, I'm going to leave Steam and go to the Epic Game Store. But I imagine a lot of people are going to pick up the free stuff who maybe don't already have the free stuff on their PCs. And so who knows, man? I mean, it could be really interesting to see, like what sort of. I mean, I don't know that we'll ever know this information, but I'd love to see like how many players this collab brings in on the Epic Game Store. Like, what's the Epic Game Store player count? And we have something like Steam charts where we can see who's playing on Steam at any given moment. Epic doesn't have that, probably to their advantage, so people can't continue to dunk on them as being the inferior PC marketplace. But yeah, it's just interesting. I don't really know what audience that is for, but they must think there's an audience there. So
yeah, and in Fall Guys you can get not now, but like what was it? Sometime in September, you can get the like box art armor for Destiny 2 for the Titan, Warlock, and Hunter sets for your little Fall Guys bean, which is great.
Also odd that it didn't launch. I was just gonna say odd that the Fall Guys stuff didn't launch with everything else. It being delayed will be a little interesting, but also like the Fall Guys tweet about it wasn't really anything. They were just kind of like, hey, just in case you missed it, Guardians are coming September 17th to Fall Guys, and it's kind of like, okay, thanks.
It's a weird world that like Fall Guys feels like they're almost too big for Destiny, where they're like, yeah, we got this game coming in.
It's true. Yeah. Yep.
And it makes me wonder, like, do you think Destiny will do more of this stuff in the future? Like, now that they're under Sony's umbrella, do you think that, like, we'll get more crossover armor? We'll get, like, a God of War inspired set. We'll get, like, an Uncharted inspired set, like a Ratchet and Clank. Like, do you think that's even, like, I feel like the floodgates could be opened here. And I'm wondering how much of that is contingent on, like, how well the Fortnite set sells in Destiny, you know? Like, if they say that players want it.
I think yes and no. I think, I mean, because we saw the sort of like Bungie 30th anniversary crossover where like there was some Halo armor or Halo-esque armor. You know, it wasn't exactly what Halo looks like.
Apparently 343 wasn't on board, and it's like, what do you mean? Like, what a missed opportunity for them.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think Destiny is at the point where it's like a free enough game, if that makes sense, where the collaborations are just going to go crazy. Like, it's not like a Fortnite where it's like, I don't think Destiny's the next destination for the online metaverse. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like...
So no Goku in Destiny?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get LeBron James and Ariana Grande in Destiny.
Oh, dang.
But, which actually, I don't know. Maybe I'll rescind that statement. I'm going to be... doing my seasonal activity as, I don't know, LeBron James someday. But so no, I generally don't think that they'll go in that direction, where it's like every time there's like a big Sony game out, they're going to release an Eververse set. Only because at this point they're releasing one Eververse set a season, and I think they'll continue to do like the subclass inspired ones that will go for like a couple more seasons. After that, I just think those artists have a lot of ideas. You know, like everything in Destiny has always been pretty original, and so I think they would like to continue building on that. But honestly, at this point, who knows? You know, collaborations are easy. It gets Destiny's name out there. I don't know who else they would really collaborate with. Fortnite's kind of the only destination I could really see that happening. In sort of like that space that people are engaging with a lot, but also there's just not a whole lot of live service games like Fortnite where like that opportunity is there. Like I don't think they'll do a collab with Warzone. I don't think they'll do a collab with Apex. I don't think they'll do a collab with Roblox. You know what I mean? Like there's not a whole lot else. Yeah, imagine. Am I about to get into Roblox? No, but I just don't think there's enough out there for them to do a collab with that it would be like a meaningful two-way street, and I don't think Destiny's at the point where it's like a source of advertising for games and media yet. In the way that Fortnite is, where it's like we're gonna put Dune skins in there because Dune's out in theaters and we want people to be excited about Dune. Like I don't think that's necessarily gonna be what Destiny becomes.
You don't think they want to become that?
Maybe monetarily they do.
Sure.
if they could get a lot of kickbacks from that. But I think Destiny is just a more mature game in that way where and I don't think the aesthetic lends itself as easily to it.
Sure.
So I don't know. All of that to say, I think Destiny will probably remain as independent as it has always been from the outside world. And I think that's what kind of makes the Epic Games Store collab so interesting is that, which honestly, I think this was probably initiated by the Epic Games Store. I think it's probably in their best interest right now to establish themselves as a store to get as many live service games on their platform as possible. Where people are constantly, they're getting some kickback of silver spent and expansions, spent on and stuff like that, rather than these big single player experiences or doing Epic Game Store's exclusives. Like I just don't think those typically go over as well. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this was initiated by Epic Games. I don't know if they're in the boardroom of Destiny 2 and thinking like, okay, what should we do for the next Eververse set? And they're like, well, we have Arc coming out. Let's do the Arc 3.0 armor. And someone's like, let's do Fortnite. And everyone's like, yeah, let's do Fortnite. And I just don't think that seems less realistic to me. So, I think
note on the Arc 3.0 armor. I was really upset that there was not Arc 3.0 armor when I logged in. Confirmed by Joe Blackburn. Yes, his name?
Yep, he's the game director at Bungie for
game
Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm. He confirmed that Arc 3.0 armor is coming. It'll be next season. So I'm guessing Epic did not want to compete and have two different armor sets to buy this season in the Eververse shop. That's what I'm guessing. Just a couple more things here, and we'll get out of your hair, folks. An exciting announcement that they made that surprised me, but I think is a good choice moving forward, is that they are not going to vault content anymore. Well, they're not going to vault expansions anymore. I'm sure that seasonal stuff will still be going away.
Yeah.
But from Shadowkeep on, there will be no expansion that will be vaulted. So we'll be able to keep Witch Queen for forever, apparently, which is great. And I think if they've said they've like been improving their engine in the back end. I think if they truly want to make Destiny 2 like the platform for Destiny, which they've said that Destiny 2 is going to stick around for a long time, and they're not going, like, basically confirming Destiny 3 is not happening maybe ever, or at least not for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think they need to start bringing back those other expansions, at least Red War, as like an introduction to the game and to like this whole saga, because they mentioned Shadowkeep as the introduction, and I just don't think that's a good starting point for the story. I think it would take a lot of work to sort of try and summarize Destiny 1, so I'm not expecting that, but I would love to see the return of Red War so we could have sort of a more complete package
Yeah.
than we do now.
Or at least something. Like, whenever a new character gets made, having, Lance Reddick do a Zavala, like, Guardian, you're awake. And then, like, him just explaining, like, what had happened up until them, like, launching into the first mission of Shadowkeep or something, But I agree. I do think, while Shadowkeep may be, in their mind, kind of the official start of this saga, and Shadowkeep's, like, the moon's already in the game, and so that maybe is easier for them to kind of say, like, okay, this is the start of the saga. It's the start of the pyramid ships, stuff like that. Yeah, it would be cool to see the past story kind of be in game so new players can kind of have some idea. And honestly, for players like me, where it's like, I don't know if I could tell you what happened in The Taken King or Rise of Iron in Destiny 1, or like Curse of Osiris in Destiny 2, that expansion, like what the story beat was. Like, I don't really know that I know, I don't know that I could just pull that out. I think if someone told me, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's what that is. But even just having like some way in game to just kind of click on, like, here's a refresher.
And they do, but it's like nice. A paragraph per expansion at most, and it's not. I don't think it's sufficient. They did put out like a 5-minute cutscene that I don't know, like maybe New Lights get it, but they put it on their Instagram, and it was like one of those like drawing cutscenes where it kind of explained the story so far. Yeah. But I personally would love to see like a big, like expensive CG cutscene or something, or like what you said, like Zavala kind of telling you a story of like, okay, here's what's happened so far, because you really need it, because coming out right now, it's like, what? There's pyramid ships, and there's Callus, and there's the Witness. I don't know who that is. And they're not going to like tell you. They're just going to say like he's the bad guy, I guess. Yeah. But that being said, I mentioned there they said like very deliberately that Destiny 2 is sticking around for a long time, and that the Dark and Light saga will end with Final Shape, but that's not the end of Destiny. What did you think about that? What do you think about like the potential of this franchise like going forward?
I'm excited about it.
What it'll change to.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it makes sense. I can't remember where I read this or saw it, but I saw at one point, I maybe I'm making this up, but I think that I saw at one point that the Destiny team was kind of inspired by what the MCU has done and how to end a saga and start a new one, and then sort of like having the Infinity Saga and now moving into the multiverse saga, and like being able to tell multiple stories without there necessarily being an ending, And so I think that's kind of what we can expect is we'll have Lightfall, we'll have the Final Shape, and then we may have an expansion or just kind of a year of like, what just happened? How are we rebuilding? What's going on now? Like, what is the transitionary period here? And so story-wise, I can see it happening. I think we're seeing it happen with Marvel and them doing a good job with that. But this also makes me think, so the Diablo series is actually a pretty successful, not necessarily live service, but just kind of long-lasting game. They're all pretty long-lasting. So the first Diablo came out in 1996. Diablo 2 came out in the year 2000. I know. Diablo 2 came out in the year 2000. Diablo 3 didn't come out until 2012. And I don't think Diablo 2 is necessarily pumping content for 12 years, but Diablo 3 has been. Diablo 4 isn't supposed to come out until like next year, I think. I think 2023 is its release. And so that's another like 10, 11 year game where it's like they have seasonal content. They're in season 23 or 24, 25. Like they're in the 20s for their seasons.
Diablo 3 is still going?
Diablo 3 has current seasons, and people log on each season to do a seasonal character and do the seasonal stuff. Yeah, like it's and it's not like Destiny though, where they're telling a story and there's new stuff to do. It's basically like each season they like change what the meta is and change some abilities, and they add new armor pieces, and then people go in and they have a seasonal character, and there's leaderboards. Like this is kind of how that game works. Like imagine if each season Destiny had a leaderboard for like strikes or something, or nightfalls, and like that's what you were grinding towards. Like if you landed at a certain place on the leaderboard, like that was something you got, or like a bragging right and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And so I feel like we have games now that are kind of doing that already. It's like Destiny could probably keep putting out seasonal activities for us to do forever. You know what I mean? I don't think that's necessarily the problem. the problem is like the story beats, and so I am interested to see kind of where they take that, and kind of how the story progresses. It will be kind of interesting once we have 3 darkness subclasses and 3 light subclasses. Like after the final shape, will subclasses even be a thing? Will the like combat change significantly? Because I think that's kind of the next thing we're barreling towards, is like the thing that hasn't been updated for years is like our weapon system. You can argue like we got the addition of glaze, but that didn't really make a big splash. But it's like, when Destiny 2 launched, we had 2 primary weapons, and then everything that either takes special ammo or heavy ammo was in the heavy slot. And then they changed that with Forsaken, which honestly was like kind of a while ago at this point. And so we haven't really had a refresh there in a meaningful way in a long time, other than Stasis being introduced and getting weapons for that, and then Strand will be introduced. And so I imagine how we kind of interact with combat and combat mods and stuff like that will be the next kind of overhaul. But
yeah, and there's the light system, like the leveling system.
Yeah,
like that's been like rumored, and people have been wanting it to change forever, like the light level grind,
right?
With it seeming, for some players, with it seeming kind of meaningless at this point.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering if like light level will be a thing, or it'll be all XP based, or it'll be just like gear power instead of you having to like infuse each and every piece of gear, which I could tell you it's gotten tiring, at least for me, like bringing something out of the vault and being like, oh, I gotta infuse it, let me go to the tower and buy this thing, and I don't have enough materials, let me go buy some from this guy.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure they will do something more creative than this, but people have said, like, let's just use the artifact as our, like, leveling system. That way I can truly go play whatever I want. But I think that raises the problem, which, I mean, I don't think this is the only motivation people have to go into... Well, maybe for Gambit, the only motivation we have is to go get our pinnacle and get out of there. But they probably have a lot of data saying that, like, the majority of our players go into these activities for their 3 games, and then once people are near the pinnacle cap, they typically leave, unless they are players that are committed to that playlist. And so it'll just be interesting. I think, the 3 main playlists, Strikes, Gambit, and Crucible, they kind of need an overhaul. I think our combat mods and in our combat system are probably next in line for like a big overhaul. And so it'll be interesting to see how they continue to evolve the game and motivate players to play is I guess the big thing at this point.
Yeah. I think, like, first of all, I think just like an idea is like, I think they need to change the like reward tiers that the seasonal vendors have. Like, I think that could be a thing to chase for players instead of just the pinnacle or the, a seasonal challenge to get the ornament for the seasonal weapon or whatever. I think like if you locked a cool set behind like level 16 or like a reset with a seasonal vendor, a cool armor set or like a cool weapon or a cool like interactive shader or something like that, a reactive shader, then that would be an additional reason beyond just like I need to be 10 light levels higher. I think that could be something compelling that they could do. But that being said, unless you have anything else on that.
I guess just sort of my last thing is there are things we had in Destiny 1 like strike scoring that we still don't have. And so as the Destiny games continue to evolve, I would like to see stuff like that. And I think that's kind of the next big thing is how do we help players kind of compete against other players in meaningful ways. And it's like if we had a seasonal leaderboard for like each strike and like a scoring system, which I mean, maybe we would have too many people tying at first because it's like, okay, if you go quick enough and kill all of the enemies, you all just tie, And so I don't know how they would do it, but if they had some sort of system like that where it's like, we're I don't know, it's a score, like a time-based thing, who knows? But I just think being able to interact with people and see what other players are doing to kind of achieve quick times would be a lot of fun. But no, overall, I'm excited that it's sticking around for longer. Definitely makes me happy as an avid player, and so I'm happy to engage with it as long as they make fun stuff. So,
yeah. That being said, I want to pose the question to you. Bungie is like, they have a lot of history. They're very significant in the gaming space. Obviously, creators of Halo. Halo 3 being one of, if not my favorite game of all time. Do you think that we're in the new golden age of Bungie? I mean, Witch Queen absolutely knocked it out of the park. All these new quality of life changes that they're bringing. Lightfall looks incredible. They're really hitting their stride, it seems like, with the seasonal model now of like, okay, people didn't like doing that one public event over and over again. Here's a bunch of events. Here's these new pirate mysteries. They've really hit their stride with the story in the past year. Like, do you think that this Bungie kind of has reclaimed the throne, so to speak, and is really they're back? You know, we're in the golden age of Bungie again.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think my argument to that is I don't know that they ever left.
Really?
Yes, in the sense that we have seen so many other live service games come and fail. We've seen Anthem, we've seen The Division, we've seen, like there are so many other games. We've seen Marvel's Avengers of people trying to do like a live service loot-based game, and it's just not working. And so I think you have to give Bungie credit in that sense, where it's like since Destiny 1 launched, like they have kind of been the gold standard for what like making a live service game is.
Yes, I would argue like staying afloat and thriving and making something genuinely innovative are two different things. And I think they've been staying afloat for a very long time.
That's fair.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, to answer your question more directly, yes. I mean, I think this is probably the best Destiny has ever been. And I mean, even Halo like sort of had a build up, a peak and a dip for Bungie, right? Where probably Halo 2 and Halo 3 go back and forth in people's minds as like the greatest Halo of all time. And I think we'll probably, with Destiny 1, without a question, the Taken King was the best expansion. But I think, no one would doubt that Destiny 2 is probably a better game overall than Destiny 1 ever was. And the fact that we're just getting better there, I think we are really hitting a stride. Because I think the first year of Destiny 2 wasn't great. Forsaken was a great expansion. Shadowkeep and Beyond Light, but both of them for me were just kind of so-so. Shadowkeep especially. Beyond Light was better. But then, I mean, what we're getting with the Witch Queen is just like nothing that we've had in the past. And so the past two seasons and this season, continuing those molds, I just think, we are seeing Destiny at their best. I think they are kind of at the top of their game right now. And that's really exciting to see, to be there and be experiencing Destiny, arguably at the best it's ever been, is just a phenomenal time. So,
yeah, I would agree. I do think we are in the new the Bungie renaissance. Because I definitely think like for a while they've been just treading water.
Yeah.
As like anthems have come and fallen, as Divisions and Marvel's Avengers have like tried to
right
copy their formula to no avail. Division 2 a little bit, they got a sequel, but still. I think that now that the Lightfall reveal and Season of Plunder, I feel like perfectly encapsulate what they are like trying to do going forward and how well it's going, because they could do themes like pirates and cyberpunk and it just works and it's exciting and it's something fresh and it feels like Star Wars to me, where they're just like building this universe where it's like, okay, this season or this at this time period in Star Wars it's a Western and we got the Mandalorian, and then here it's like a samurai thing with Star Wars visions, and here there's this it's a sci-fi thing, it's fantasy, it's blah blah blah, it's a war movie with Rogue One. Like Destiny's getting to that point now where they've established their universe, and now we can really have fun in it and play in the space and sort of branch out and be more creative, and explore different genres, and have that be a compelling reason to log back in. To me is like really exciting, and I just wonder like how many things they can explore. It makes me excited to see like, okay,
Absolutely.
wait, the floodgates have been opened. Let's keep going. Let's go weird new fun places.
Yeah. I will say it feels like even the Bungie team, they are more excited about Destiny now than maybe they've ever been.
Yes.
Especially early on in Destiny 2's life, time, it almost felt directionless. Like, where are we going? Like, what's the point of this? Like, what's happening here? Where now it's like every time I see an interview with one of them, it's, you know, they are seasons ahead of what, you know, they would like to do, and thinking so forwardly and forward focused, and they feel excited about what they're making. And so that's just cool to see. You know, when I see them be excited, I get excited, you know, because they just have such a passion and enjoyment in what they're making and what they're bringing us, that it just feels like a lot of fun. So,
and even just in the trailer for Lightfall, like, you can feel the excitement poured into it, like the passion and the dedication. Like, it's so ambitious, and you can feel the team's sort of drive through just that little reveal we got of Lightfall and the new location and everything. Yeah. So yeah, it's really exciting. A lot of stuff in this showcase, and the bulk of the showcase was 30 minutes, and they got all of this in there in 30 minutes.
It was crazy,
which is insane. It was just hit after hit after hit. But unless I'm missing something, I feel like we've covered all of the big stuff. Is that correct, Zach?
I think we have. Yeah, we covered it all in quite some depth and taken some liberties of our own. But no, I mean, it was just overall a really exciting showcase, and the fact that we were able to kind of draw everything out of this that we did, and were able to get excited for everything that we mentioned, I think, you know, just goes to show how full and exciting of a showcase it was. So
yeah, I'm the most excited I've ever been for Destiny, and I was really excited for Witch Queen. I've been playing Destiny 2, you know, ever since it came out. I started Destiny with Taken King, and like, I feel like we're peaking. Or, you know, we're just climbing upwards. We could just keep going up. I would love that. So it's a good time to be a Destiny fan. If you haven't played it, I don't know why you're listening to this, but thanks. But jump in. It's a great time to jump in.
Yeah.
So do we want to say like what we're excited for, or we're just getting out of here?
I mean, I think we just spent an hour and a half talking about what we were excited for.
That's true. So. Yeah. We're excited for Destiny, you guys.
We are.
So I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for us.
I think so.
Thanks for listening to this episode, folks. All an hour and a half of us gushing about a 30-minute Destiny showcase. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BatteryLowBlog for both of those. And check out our website, batterylow.co. We do reviews and discussions and deep dives and all that jazz. Our theme song is Echoes by HurricaneTurtles. Be sure to check out that track and check out that band. We will see you next time. And folks, check your batteries.